Hello, my friend. You came just in time. It has been one of those weeks where I spent too much time alone, hidden from the world, listening to the whispers to my soul. One particular whisper spoke to me of a turtle. It is this whisper that I now pass on to you. And this is how the story begins. Nestled deep in a forest there sat a pond no human had ever found, as it was cloistered by weeping willows that did not look like trees at all. From the outside of the pond, their shape took the form of shaggy, hunched-over giants with long drooping arms and short stocky legs. This optical illusion, this wall of giants, kept humans out for 1,000 generations, inspiring the pond's inhabitants to declare their home forbidden to humans. They called their pond Eden because its emerald water was so calm and so pristine that the Spirit of God sailed on every ripple and bounced on every splash. Eden because the berries were so perfectly sweet and the water lilies so pure in their beauty. God must have been the gardener. Eden because it was something outsiders craved but could never recreate. Thanks to the pond's seclusion, its inhabitants felt free to wander about without fear of human attacks and without the risk of being photographed. Actions that were common in the outside world, according to the ducks. Frogs, therefore, floated on green mattresses, stretched out on their backs, legs swinging in the air, croaking to their heart's content. Dragonflies rustled their blue and purple wings among the tall reeds and called upon ancestral spirits to guide them to their new beginnings. Adventurous turtles propelled themselves into the depths of the pond, only poking their heads above the water to urge turtles perched on a branch to join them. "It's a fine day for a swim," said a young turtle. "Jump in!" shouted the others. When the turtles perched on the branch refused, a splashing battle ensued accompanied by joyous laughter. Ducks tipped their wings to the turtles and did not seem bothered by the noise at all. They offered soft quacks here and there and drifted under the hanging willow branches before dozing off in the afternoon sun. Of course, life in Eden was not all about fun and relaxation. You could say turtles worked the hardest. They spent their days, even weekends, eating the debris and scum from their beloved pond, and they did this to maintain the purity that was handed down to them from their ancestors. Even when other creatures told them, "It looks clean enough, you can rest now," they would not stop feeding until they could see the sandy floor at the bottom of the pond. Ducks, on the other hand, tended to float idly upon the water for hours. But when parents raised the volume of their quacks and vigorously ruffled their feathers, ducklings waddled hastily into their nests and made sure they had a suitable place upon which to rest. When ducks were not floating, they ran errands for turtles and frogs, venturing into the outside world for daily necessities like paper and flint for starting fires. Frogs, meanwhile, swept their dusty pads and trimmed the jagged purple leaves in their area. They leapt with delight any time someone thanked them for making their pond the most colorful in all the world. As you may have already concluded, turtles, ducks, and frogs regarded each other as neighbors. They therefore kept watch over the grass and the air and warned each other if snakes or hawks approached. Since they had to eat, an ancient pact was forged and obeyed to only feed on vegetation and insects, as well as creatures under the water and underground. To protect their peaceful way of living, good manners formed an essential part of their upbringing, meaning they always greeted each other with good morning and parted with, "God be with you." They cared so deeply for one another that if someone fell ill, neighbors prayed and brought ginger root and echinacea juice. If someone married, neighbors bore witness to the vows and showered the newlyweds with white lotus petals. If a mother ready to hatch her eggs, the whole Eden community threw a hatching party, where all families were invited and all were expected to attend. The Edeners, as they called themselves, were a punctual bunch, each family rushing to be the first to offer their congratulations and their favorite family dish. For one particular hatching party, many, many years ago, ducks carried hot minnow stew, which was an art unto itself, being that ducks waddled and caused the liquid to splatter from one edge of the pot to the other. "Slow down, Father Duck," was said 100 times and was heard from yards away. "If I slow down, we will be the last to arrive," was always the response. And just as the 100th reply was uttered, frogs hopped by, displaying a wooden tray covered in earthworm casserole. The frogs, of course, had a reason for rushing. They could not let their squirming morsels escape. They even managed to pass the turtles, who always started out first, but always arrived last, and fittingly so. The turtles always brought dessert, and it was always the same: blackberry pudding pie and roasted lotus seeds. In the end, it did not matter who arrived first or last. The mother duck sat in her nest and welcomed everyone with the same enthusiastic, "I'm so glad you could make it." The father duck directed his neighbors on where to place the dishes and began the festivities by calling on the crooning crickets to strike up the music, but they were nowhere to be found. "Were the crickets important?" said a frog with a little black leg dangling from his mouth. "Great God Almighty," said Father Duck, "you ate the band." "How was I supposed to know?" said the frog, slurping up the little black leg. Father Duck pointed to a banner hanging between two branches. "Do the words crooning crickets mean anything to you?" The frog shrugged his scrawny shoulders and said, "I didn't think they were real crickets." "I promised them safe passage," said Father Duck. "No one will ever trust in my word again." "I am so very sorry," said the frog. "Where am I going to find musicians at this hour?" said Father Duck, raising his wings in defeat. "How about I sing you a song?" shouted a double-chinned frog, only because she wanted to show off her croaking skills. "Yes, a song," said a long-necked duck, only because he believed he possessed the most melodic quack in all the world. "Only if we are allowed to join," said a dark green turtle. "Contrary to popular belief, we turtles are known to belt out a tune every now and then." Frogs, ducks, and turtles took turns singing about the strong camaraderie found in Eden, and how such camaraderie did not exist anywhere else in the world. So enjoyable was the song, almost every Edener shouted, "Sing it again, and don't stop singing until it is etched in our hearts." I say almost every Edener, because there was one particular turtle who recoiled in his shell when he heard the song for the first time. "Camaraderie," grumbled the turtle, "the strongest in the world. It's the biggest lie I ever heard." The lies got louder, and with every lie the turtle cringed and hid deeper in his shell. How dare the ducks add lyrics about them flying far and near, over mountains and across river bends, about them always returning to Eden to find solace in their family and friends. He found the song so blatantly false that he slowly backed away from the party, without politely excusing himself, without even telling his parents he had to leave. A firefly led him to a large rectangular patch of mud, which sat in front of a berry bush. He curled up his front and hind legs and gazed at his family and neighbors for one last time, as they sang and danced and locked limbs and wings. He envied their joy and their closeness, and wondered if they even knew he was gone. Probably not. The only one who cared about him was no longer in Eden. She had flown away, maybe far, maybe near, maybe over mountains, maybe over river bends. One thing he knew for sure. She had not returned to Eden to her family and to her friends, at least to the friend who missed her the most. The afternoon following the hatching party, his parents somehow found where he lay hidden. The turtle guessed the firefly must have shown them the way. "What are you doing so far from home?" said his mother, peeking into his shell. "Your father couldn't sleep a wink last night worrying about you." His father, always the quieter one, said nothing, but he could imagine his father nodding as usual. "Are you sleeping?" said his mother when he did not respond. "Wake up and talk to your father." The turtle was wide awake. He just did not feel like answering. "I know you're in there," said his mother. "I can smell you." "Why don't we just let him be?" said his father, and he could imagine his father trying to pull his mother away as usual. He's obviously going through some issues. What could he possibly be going through that his mother cannot resolve? His mother stuck her head inside the entrance of the shell and was immediately pulled away by his father. "Give him space. He obviously needs time." "Time for what?" said his mother, still trying to pry into the shell. "Time to heal," said his father, blocking her view. "Heal from what?" said his mother. "He's taking it hard, that's all," said his father. "I suggest we let him be. He'll emerge when he's ready." "When will that be?" said his mother. "Sooner than you think," said his father. The turtle felt a knock on his shell and heard his father's voice. "We'll be home if you need us." Tears swelled in the turtle's eyes as his parents' voices faded in the distance. He suddenly wanted to crawl after them and sleep like a baby in between them. He wanted to return to that time when parents were all that mattered and the absence of friends did not cause him heartache. But something held him back, something he could not name. This mysterious something gave the darkness its color and kept him locked in his shell for a day, then a week, then a month. He could already imagine what family and neighbors thought about him. From the day they could walk, Edeners were taught to greet everyone with a smile and engage in talk about the beauty of the pond and the beauty of life. No Edener child could get away with salutations from afar. One had to look the adult in the eye and shake their limb or wing with firmness. An Edener who hid from others and refused to speak was inconceivable. What possible reason could exist in such a peaceful place that would lead someone into self-isolation? He could already imagine how family and neighbors pestered his parents to force him out, to give him no choice and to make him live as joyfully as the rest of the Edeners lived. A few times a tap-tap against his shell startled him out of his sleep. He froze when a voice flowed inside. "You want to come out for a swim?" A swim? Why would anyone ask him that question? Couldn't they see that he wanted to be left alone? If he wanted a swim, he would have found his way into the water on his own. He did not need to be asked. Instead of replying, he stayed silent and nodded when the voice said, "I don't think he's coming out." Another time, out of nowhere, a frog popped her head inside, making the turtle bump his head against the ceiling of his shell. "Are you all right in there?" said the frog. "No, I'm not all right," said the turtle, reeling from the sudden intrusion. "Please mind your own business from now on." He watched the frog stick out a nasty pink tongue and hop away. "He's not the same turtle that swam and played with us when we were young," said the frog nearby. I peeked inside just to make sure he was well, and was told to mind my own business. "How rude," said another voice which he recognized to be that of a cousin turtle. We turtles hide in our shells when we feel threatened. Honestly, there's no reason to feel threatened in Eden. Something must have set him off." "I have heard adults whispering," said a raspy voice, probably a duckling. "Something about his friend." "Oh, yeah, his friend," said the frog sarcastically. The turtle could hear the rolling of eyes in her tone. "He didn't say much when she left," said his cousin. "He was never a talker to begin with. I'm guessing he's saving his words for when she returns." "So she's gone, big deal," said the frog, followed by a loud plop and specks of mud splattering in front of the turtle's shell. "No need to hide away and not talk to your neighbors. He's not the same turtle we knew. He's a little loony, if you ask me." Hearing their conversation and the conversations that followed made the turtle all the more determined to stay hidden from the rest of the pond and from judging glances. He had stayed so long in his shell that he feared family and neighbors now saw him as a freak of nature, as someone who no longer belonged in Eden. So when his parents and his uncles and aunts invited him for a morning dip or for a blackberry pudding pie, he had no choice but to reply with, "Not today, thank you." He declined so many invitations and so many offers of food that by the year's end Edner stopped approaching him. When the visitors ceased, he imagined family and neighbors singing and dancing at hatching parties, living as if he no longer existed. And for some reason he felt no desire to change that reality. His mother was the only one who dared poke her head inside his shell, mainly to say, "Your father is worried about you, son. He hasn't had a good night's sleep since you left. Are you eating? Are you sleeping? Are you even alive?" The turtle burrowed deeper and said, "I just want to be left alone." "It's unhealthy to stay stuck inside," said his mother. "You need some sun." "I feel fine," said the turtle. "My shell keeps me warm." "Ducks and frogs are talking," said his mother. "Don't badger the hatchling," said his father. "Let him be." "He has to know the truth," said his mother. "He doesn't have to know anything," said his father. "Neighbors think you hate them," said his mother. "I have heard them saying you are a pompous brat who thinks you are superior to them and that you want nothing to do with their kind." "Don't pay attention to what your mother is saying," said his father, tapping his shell. "You do what you think is right." "Our ancestors say we turtles developed our shells to dig and escape a harsh climate," said his mother. "But we don't exist in such a climate here in our peaceful pond. If you want to do the right thing, come out and spend time with family and neighbors." "I have nothing to say to family and neighbors," said the turtle. "After a year I'd think you'd have something to say," said his mother. "You can at least tell your mommy why you refuse to come out." "You wouldn't understand," said the turtle. "You'd probably laugh. Then you'd tell others and they would laugh." "I would do no such thing," said his mother. "Please tell me, son. Your mommy needs to know." "He can tell us when he's ready," said his father, tugging on his mother. "No need to pressure the lad." "If you must know," said the turtle, "on second thought I better not." "Come out with it," insisted his mother. "If you must know," said the turtle. "It's because of my friend." "Your friend?" "The duck," said his mother with a chuckle. "That was a year ago, my boy." "You see, I knew you'd laugh," said the turtle. "You need to get over her," said his mother. "I know she was your best friend, but she's moved on, and you need to do the same." "No need to force him into doing something he's not ready to do," said his father. "You see, mother, I knew you wouldn't understand. So can you please leave? I can't breathe if you're in here taking up my oxygen." "Very well," said his mother, retracting her neck back into the sunlight. "I left you a portion of mashed mushrooms just the way you like. Your family and your neighbors miss you. We hope to see you out in the pond by autumn." Autumn? When was autumn? He no longer knew what season crept outside his shell. It could not be summer. He had already suffered through unbearable heat and humidity. If it had not been for a few rainy days and water flowing into his shell, he would have died of thirst. It could not be winter. He had already withstood intense shivering and severe muscle cramping. If he had not found a warm pile of mud in which to burrow himself, he would have perished. Judging by the fresh breeze and the sweet scent of lilac that sometimes swept into his shell, judging by the sound of tiny quacks and tiny ribbits, he guessed it was spring. Whatever the season, he was not coming out. End of story. Family and neighbors could talk all they wanted and think whatever they pleased. He felt no desire to join them in their gatherings. For what? So they could point at him and say, "There goes the weirdo who still mourns the loss of his friend." So they could snicker behind his back and say, "He's an embarrassment to all turtles." What family and neighbors did not know was that at night when they slept, he occasionally poked his head out just enough to catch a glimpse of the moon dangling over the pond. His interest was not in the light. He actually hoped to see his friend, the duck, swooping down and taking him in her wings. For her, he would extend his neck and front and hind legs and never retreat back into darkness. She was his real light, the only light that mattered. He sighed every night she failed to show up. He shed a few tears every time he recalled the day she left. As much as he tried to prevent the memories from flooding his mind, he could not stop a purple and pink sky from suddenly appearing. He could not stop a large orange sun from setting below the willow trees. He could not even stop himself from smiling. He smiled back then. She made him smile as they paddled through the water, him on his back, her at his side. He never expected her to tell him she was leaving. "You mean to find food?" said the turtle. "To find adventure," said the duck. "Sounds like fun," said the turtle. "Just bring me back a souvenir, like when you brought me that crystal rock. I feel so bad for losing it." "I won't be coming back," said the duck. He flipped over on his belly. "What do you mean?" "I'm tired of this boring old pond," said the duck, peering down at him with her piercing black eyes. "We do the same thing every day. Eat, swim, sleep, fly around for a few hours, and splash. Right back to the same routine." "You never said you were bored," said the turtle. "I always assumed we were having fun." "Sure, we had fun," said the duck. "But you know, I've been out of the pond. I've seen mountains, humans, long flowing rivers, and there's still so much more I haven't seen. I need something new. New scenery, new waters, new friends." That last part sunk him. When he came back up, he gently brushed against her. "New friends?" She paddled away and said, "I don't mean to hurt you. We've been best friends since I could waddle. But lately I've noticed, we're different." "Of course we're different," said the turtle. "That makes our friendship unique." "I used to think that," said the duck. "I used to make myself believe it. But now I can't ignore the fact that I was meant to fly, to migrate, to explore." "We've explored outside of the pond plenty of times," said the turtle. "Remember when we found that old dinosaur tooth?" "I remember," said the duck. "I remember it took us a whole day. Something I could have done in a few minutes. I can no longer ignore the fact that you're unable to keep up with me. Life is short, and I cannot wait for you anymore. This is why I have to go." "Fine, go then," said the turtle, bobbing his head in anger. "I don't mean to hurt you," said the duck, using her bill to scoop up his chin. Looking into his eyes, she said, "But it's something I have to do." "But it's not for forever, right?" said the turtle. "You will still come and visit, right?" "Maybe," said the duck. "I can't make any promises." "I'll take that as a yes," said the turtle, as she released his chin and flapped her brown and blue wings. She thrust herself into the air and ascended higher and higher. She could not hear him when he said, "Have a nice adventure." When he saw her circling the pond and rushing toward a cloud, he came to his senses and said, "What am I saying?" He immediately paddled to shore. Once on land, he crawled into the low grass. He crawled as fast as he could, which wasn't very fast at all, and cried out, "You can't leave. I need you to bring me some flint." He stretched out his wrinkly turtle neck and watched her become a brown speck in the sky. A cloud then gobbled her up, and he never saw her again. She never even said goodbye. He blamed his short turtle legs for not being able to reach her and stop her from leaving. Why did he have to be a turtle instead of a duck? Why couldn't he be fun and interesting enough to keep her from leaving? For the first few days after she left, he kept vigil, scanning the sky day and night, hoping to see her emerge from a cloud. His mother scolded him for staying up so late and demanded that he get his rest. He had to help clean the pond like every other turtle, and that required a good night's sleep. His father seemed to be the only one who noticed that his friend was missing. "So, I haven't seen you with your friend lately," said his father. "She's not here," said the turtle. "Is she off on an errand?" asked his father. "Maybe," said the turtle. "Is something wrong?" said his father. "I don't want to talk about it," said the turtle, averting his eyes. His father patted his head. "I wouldn't worry too much. She'll be back before you know it. In the meantime, if you ever need to talk, I'll be right here." When a week went by and his friend had not returned, his father escorted him to the adult ducks and asked if they had seen his son's friend in their travels. Only one adult remarked that he saw her flying south. Since she wasn't accustomed to flying long distances, she would probably return in a few days. This made the turtle more zealous in his patrol of the sky. In secret, out of his mother's sight, he kept watch during his work and when others slept. He refused to sleep. He didn't want to miss her if she swooped by. He didn't want to hear from others, "Oh, we saw your friend. She was just here." Eventually his neck grew tired of pointing upwards, and it soon began to droop and droop and droop, until it completely receded into his shell during the wretched hatching party. He never planned on staying in his shell for so long. It just happened. It became his way of life, a habit, a necessity. He didn't mean to become accustomed to the darkness and solitude. They just became part of his skin, something he could not shake off. Unfortunately, his memories were not as adhesive. They shed like snake scales. Off went his memory of how Eden looked in the sunlight. Off went the faces of family and neighbors. Off went his skill on how to hold a conversation. Off went his ability to smile. Only the image of his best friend remained with him in the shell. the image of her extending her wing to cover him as they took an afternoon nap, the image of her paddling at his side, her tail wagging as he made her laugh, the image of her dragging him through willow branches to escape the clutches of a black vulture. Her image made his shell a little less dark, a little less cramped, a little less hard. Her image kept him praying, kept him hoping, kept him wishing. Her image kept him alive. It was a rainy evening in Eden, and at the entrance of his shell, light flickered on and off and on again, bringing with it the crack of thunder. Neither the boom nor the continuous tapping of raindrops disturbed the turtle from his slumber. He did not see a bright green caterpillar inch its soaking body through the entrance of his shell. If he did, he probably would have shooed it away. "Oh, it's so cold and wet," said the caterpillar in her tiny voice. "I'm so grateful, dear Creator, for this warm and dry cave." She twisted her slender body, much like you twist a wet towel. Rain squeezed out of her body, and she let out a soothing "ah." She then untwisted herself and used all her might to shake off the remaining water. Tiny sprinkles splashed against the turtle's eyelids, causing him to blink and rattle his head. "Is my shell leaking?" said the turtle, looking at the ceiling. Little dots of water again tapped against his face, bringing the turtle's gaze to the floor. "A caterpillar?" said the turtle, discovering the little green creature with orange spots. "In my home." Startled, the caterpillar bounced onto her hind legs and raised her tiny fists. "Who's in my cave? Come out and show yourself." "Cave?" said the turtle. "This is no cave. You are in my shell. Uninvited, I might add." "Shell?" said the caterpillar, lowering her body. "You must be the biggest snail in the world." "I beg your pardon," said the turtle. "Snails are slimy, disgusting little things. I am a turtle, leathery but clean, and one thing you must know about turtles. We do not permit other creatures in our shells. In other words, you must leave at once." The caterpillar flinched when thunder cracked above. She frowned and said, "Can't I stay until the rain stops?" The turtle noticed the stream of heavy rain spilling off the entrance of his shell, and watched the water carry away leaves and twigs. The stream looked strong enough to carry away caterpillars. Clearing his throat, he said, "I suppose you can stay, but just until the rain stops." She bounced with joy and clapped all her hands. "Oh, goody, I've never stayed in a turtle shell before." "It's only for a short time," said the turtle. "Still, I would like to explore if you don't mind," said the caterpillar. He followed her with his eyes as she crawled up the inner wall of his shell to the very top. "Be careful now," said the turtle. "You might fall and hurt yourself." "Don't worry about me," said the caterpillar. "I do this all the time." He watched with his mouth agape as she defied gravity and hung upside down. "Are all turtle shells this hard?" asked the caterpillar, knocking on his inner wall and smiling at the sound of the thud. "I can't speak for all turtles. At least the ones in this pond have shells like mine." The caterpillar swayed her upper torso and seemed to be looking at the turtle's face. "Do all turtles have red and yellow stripes?" "Well, not all turtles," said the turtle. "My family alone has some with green and white, some with orange and red, and some have no stripes at all." She moved closer to him and allowed herself to drop from the ceiling onto the top of his head. Her fuzzy little legs tickled him as she crawled down his cheek. He smiled, but immediately twisted his face into a grimace. "What happened?" said the caterpillar, now on the back of his neck. "Your smile. It disappeared for no apparent reason. "Smile," said the turtle. "What smile? Your legs just caused me to twitch. That's all." "Well, why don't you bring it back?" said the caterpillar, getting under his neck and rubbing her fuzzy legs on his skin. "Tickle, tickle, tickle." He giggled, but then shook her off and said, "That's quite enough. As long as you stay, we will have no more tickling." "Please don't be angry," said the caterpillar, stretched out below him. "I've never been close to a turtle before. Just thought it would be fun." "I've been told by others I am no fun," said the turtle. "As a matter of fact, I am boring, so you might as well know that up front." "Who would say such a thing?" said the caterpillar. "It doesn't matter," said the turtle. "Another thing you must know. I cherish peace and quiet. It looks like the rain isn't going to stop anytime soon. So I suggest you stop with all the questions and get some sleep." She agreed and curled up on the floor of his shell. She was out in 5 seconds. Not accustomed to visitors, he found himself unable to shut his eyes. He instead watched the caterpillar's peaceful breathing, wondering where she came from. He had only seen a few caterpillars in the pond. Frogs snatched them up before anyone else could meet them. Now here was a caterpillar in his shell, an inevitable meal for his neighbors, and soon he would have to ask her to leave. As he slowly became drowsy, he noticed the rain had stopped. He lightly nudged the caterpillar, but she did not awaken. About to nudge her again, he stopped himself. "I'll let her stay until morning," he whispered in the darkness. "Frogs have more than enough food." He lay his head on the floor and soon felt a tiny body nestle against his cheek. He almost smiled, but remembered. She would soon be gone. It felt like he had just closed his eyes when light appeared outside his shell. The turtle yawned and slightly raised his head. He was about to greet the caterpillar with "good morning" when he noticed she was missing. In her place, a small puddle of water. Though he knew this was going to happen, he still felt a certain sadness and guilt. Sadness because he had not had company in such a long time. Guilt because he did not warn her about the frogs. "I hope she makes it safely out of the pond," said the turtle. He stretched his neck and raised his head to the ceiling. "Watch it," shouted a tiny voice from on top of his head. "You're going to squash me." Lowering his head, the turtle said, "What are you doing up there?" "The floor got too wet, as you can see," said the caterpillar. "So you climbed on my head?" said the turtle. "Yeah, it's nice and dry up here," said the caterpillar. "Well, can you climb down, please?" said the turtle. "As you can see, the rain has stopped." "I was thinking about breakfast," said the caterpillar, tapping her mouth. "What do you have around here that a starving caterpillar can eat?" He did not know how to respond. He usually waited for a gust of wind to deliver food. He had no spare leaves or berries. When the caterpillar's stomach began to grumble, he knew he had to provide something to eat. Edener hospitality was ingrained in him. Oh, how his front and hind legs cracked with pain as he slowly stretched them out. He squinched his eyes and cried, "Yow!" with their every movement. By the time they touched the earth, they throbbed and wobbled and could not move forward. "You're shedding tears," said the caterpillar, still on top of his head, a head that remained hidden in the shell. "That's normal for us turtles. It gets us moving in the morning." "Then keep those tears coming so we can move toward some food," said the caterpillar. "I'm starving." The turtle groaned as he lifted his front right leg and put it in front of him. He lifted his front left leg and did the same. "Oh, goody, we're moving," said the caterpillar. "Your tears are working." Now, moving both his front and hind legs, the turtle huffed out his soreness. Though he wanted to stop, he knew he had to keep moving to rid himself of the pain and numbness. Meanwhile, the caterpillar bounced and shouted, "Go faster!" "I'm going as fast as I can," said the turtle, bumping into a rock. "Maybe if you poke your head out you can see where you're going," said the caterpillar. "I know this pond inside and out," claimed the turtle, using his front legs to feel around for any obstacles on the path. "Do you need me to get out and guide you?" said the caterpillar. "Nonsense," said the turtle, "we're almost there." While the turtle backed up into long tubes of water chestnuts, the caterpillar bounced and giggled. The turtle came to a halt when his webbed feet stepped on a crunchy stem. "Oh, why did you stop?" said the caterpillar. "We were having fun." "If you crawl outside," said the turtle, "you'll find a hearty breakfast, and a very tasty one, I might add." She climbed down his neck and stood on the floor of his shell. About to exit, she stopped and turned to the turtle and said, "Won't you be joining me?" "Me?" said the turtle. "No, I don't eat so early." "I don't like eating alone," said the caterpillar. "I've eaten alone for too many days. You have to join me. I'm your guest." "Very well," said the turtle, puffing out his frustration. "Only because you're my guest. But you have to bring the stem inside." "All by myself?" said the caterpillar. "All by yourself," said the turtle. "If you want me to eat with you." The caterpillar spit on her hands and rubbed them together. "I got this." To the turtle's surprise, she returned, dragging a stem 3 times her size. "Breakfast is served," said the caterpillar. Without realizing it, the turtle smiled. "Oh, goody," squeaked the caterpillar. "You're smiling." Instantly, the turtle straightened his mouth. "I was not smiling, I was wincing, from the soreness." "I bet you loved her," said the caterpillar. "Loved who?" said the turtle. "I'm guessing a duck," said the caterpillar. "In your sleep you kept quacking, which seemed pretty weird." "I did no such thing," insisted the turtle. "Yeah, you kept saying, 'Come back, I love you. Come back.'" "Now you're talking nonsense," said the turtle. "I suggest you eat your breakfast so you can get going." "I'm sorry if I offended you," said the caterpillar. "Please don't make me go. I like staying with you." "We made an agreement," said the turtle, resting his chin on the floor of his shell. "Once the rain stopped, you would leave." But I was hoping. But you smiled." The caterpillar bowed her head in disappointment and said, "Never mind." She dragged all her feet toward the entrance of his shell. Suddenly, thunder boomed and water spilled out of the sky. She leapt with joy and clapped her hands. "Oh, goody! Now I get to stay longer." She rippled toward the turtle's cheek and kissed it. The smile that followed was one the turtle could not deny. He shared the crispy stem with the caterpillar, and they both watched the rain form a waterfall at the entrance of his shell. "I hope it rains every day," said the caterpillar, "so I won't ever have to leave." Days passed, and though the rain had stopped, the turtle never bothered to ask the caterpillar to depart. He enjoyed her company, her questions, her attention to his answers. He warned her about the frogs and clenched his mouth every time she searched for food. Seeing her crawl back into his shell, safe and sound, always made him exhale a sigh of relief. He loved seeing her munch on leaves, and told her on several occasions to slow down. There were plenty of leaves to go around. "Oh, goody," she said, "I'm going to eat them all." It seemed like that was exactly what she intended to do. She hauled in countless of leaves, some green, some red, some yellow, some short, some long. "I could bring more if you came out and helped," said the caterpillar. "You have more than enough," said the turtle. "I observed some of your neighbors," said the caterpillar between bites. "Those turtles seem like hard workers." "Oh, they are hard workers. If it wasn't for turtles, the pond would look like a dump. Those ducks, on the other hand, seem to sleep for hours," said the caterpillar. "That they do," said the turtle. "But if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have half the things we need for surviving." "They all seem very nice," said the caterpillar, finishing off a leaf and burping out her satisfaction. "Not sure why you don't want to say hello to them?" "I can say hello from here," said the turtle. "That is, if they ever say hello to me." "Maybe you can just poke your head out, get someone to see your face," said the caterpillar. "They've seen my face countless of times," said the turtle. "I hear there's something called a hatching party," said the caterpillar, "and there'll be lots of food." "You want more food?" said the turtle, alarmed. "Yes, more food," said the caterpillar, raising her upper body. "Why won't you take me?" "Why won't I take you?" said the turtle, looking lost in thought. "I won't take you, because frogs will be there. You don't want to be around frogs. They will serve you as an appetizer." "Never mind," said the caterpillar, slouching. "I guess I'll just keep eating in your shell." And eat she did. In just a week, her body expanded from side to side, making it difficult for her to crawl. "I've never seen any creature eat so much," said the turtle during one of the third lunches of the day. "Do all caterpillars eat as much as you?" "I hope so," said the caterpillar, munching on a berry. "I didn't get to spend much time with my family." "And why is that?" asked the turtle. "I'd rather not talk about it," said the caterpillar, wiping a purple smudge from her face. "But if you insist." The caterpillar crawled to the ceiling and hung upside down so she could be closer to the turtle's eyes. "I started out as a puny bug," said the caterpillar. "We all did, puny enough to get carried away by ants. One day, an army of ants invaded my home, taking more siblings than I could count. If it wasn't for my sister pushing me down a milkweed stem, I would have perished along with the rest." "Thank the Creator for your sister," said the turtle. "Oh, I thank the Creator every day," said the caterpillar. "Not only did my sister push me down a milkweed stem, but down a milkweed stem with no ants. I managed to inch my way into a safe and hollow log, where I spent the night shivering and weeping for my family. Shadows that crawled in the moonlight ignited my hope. My sister's coming for me, I kept telling myself. She's right outside. But after waiting for 3 whole days, I realized she was never going to come." "And the ants never found you?" asked the turtle. "A few patrolled the outside of the log," said the caterpillar. "But for some reason they never stepped in. I was so scared I did not move from my spot for weeks. I just clung to the wood for dear life, fearing that at any moment ants would rush in and take me." "I suppose at some point you did make a move," said the turtle. "I really don't know what happened," said the caterpillar. Something inside me, maybe instinct, maybe a desire to live, took over my body and caused my old skin to fall off. It was then that I knew I could no longer live in fear. I had to go out into the world. I was no longer the puny bug I once was. And besides, bark tastes terrible. "And that's how you got here?" said the turtle. "It wasn't quite that easy," said the caterpillar. "Something inside me told me I had to get as far as possible from where my tragedy took place. I bid a teary farewell to my home and vowed to never forget my family. I then wandered for days through a valley of tall grass, jumping at every hiss and chirp, wondering if that jump would be my last. I eventually made it to the banks of a long flowing river. Something inside me said I had to cross that river." "How on earth would you ever do that?" said the turtle. "My thoughts exactly," said the caterpillar. "I lay there defeated, with no idea on how make it to the other side. From where I stood, I could see no end to the river, no alternate path to take." "You could have easily stayed put," said the turtle. "I'm sure there was plenty of food around." "Something told me I wasn't far enough," said the caterpillar. "So how did you get across?" asked the turtle. "To tell you the truth, I about gave up," said the caterpillar. "I stopped eating. I slept all day. I stopped wanting to live when something came over me. Maybe the spirits of my family members. They peeled off my old skin and knitted me a new one, equipped with new eyes. For I looked at that giant river and no longer saw an obstacle. I saw a blessing." "A blessing?" said the turtle, perplexed. "Yes, a blessing," replied the caterpillar. "The river was there for a reason." "To stop you, of course," said the turtle. "To show me I am not powerless," said the caterpillar. "I can overcome any challenge if I choose to do so." "So what did you do?" said the turtle. "I went up to the shore and puffed out my chest," said the caterpillar, reenacting the scene for the turtle. "I spit on my hands and rubbed them together like I was getting ready to start a fire. I took a deep breath and slowly approached the water." "Don't tell me you swam all the way to the other side," said the turtle. "That was my intention for sure, but it was so cold," said the caterpillar, embracing herself. "I backed away immediately." "So how did you get across?" said the turtle. "I combed the shoreline, looking for a twig, a leaf, anything I could float on," said the caterpillar. "I could not give up." "And what did you find?" said the turtle. "Another blessing," said the caterpillar. "Something odd washed up on shore, something made of a transparent substance and topped with a white cap." "I would have liked to have seen something made with transparent material," said the turtle. "Did it feel like you were floating on air?" "It was actually rather crackly when I climbed it," said the caterpillar. "At first it stayed stuck against a rock, and I thought it would never take off. Thank goodness a branch drifted by and nudged it out into the current. Finally I was off, guided only by the wind. You should have seen me gliding down the river, yelling, 'Yippee!' and shouting, 'I'm the fastest caterpillar in the world.' I don't think my boasting sat well with the river." "Why do you say that?" said the turtle. "I soon found myself in bubbly white water that made my vessel spin and bounce in the air," said the caterpillar. "I held on as best as I could as the current intensified and launched me over stones and branches as it dragged me under and popped me back up again. 'I'm sorry,' I cried out. 'I'll never boast again. I just want to get across. Please, kind river, get me across.'" "And then what happened?" said the turtle. "The river thankfully calmed down and took me gently downstream," said the caterpillar. It even sent a silver fish with pointy whiskers to bump me to shore. As soon as I washed up on the sandy bank, I climbed off my transparent vessel and kissed the ground with so much gratitude I did not pay attention to my surroundings. I didn't see the nasty lizard sneak up behind me and couldn't have done much if I did. He took me in his mouth and scurried away. The poor fool should have also paid attention to his surroundings. He didn't see the hawk swoop down and couldn't have done much to escape those mighty claws. Now pierced with those claws, the lizard could not swallow me. I managed to crawl out of the foul-smelling mouth and make my way up the hawk's leg. As we whisked through clouds and soared over trees and valleys, I felt free. I really did. But when I saw the lizard kicking and begging for his life, I suddenly realized I could be next, and I wasn't free at all. What if the hawk was taking me to her chicks? They would surely tear me apart. So I had to do something. But jumping from such heights would splatter me. Yet I saw no other solution. "Are you telling me you jumped from way up high?" said the turtle. "Well, everything is way up high for a little bug like me," said the caterpillar. Of course, I did not want to jump. Fear paralyzed me and I just couldn't make myself let go. That's when something inside me, maybe a vision of the future, maybe a longing for love, sprang forth and shook my old skin off of me. My new skin came equipped with a new heart, full of courage, full of trust in the Creator. And so, just as the hawk flew over the pond, whoosh, I took my leap of faith. I bounced off of several berry bush leaves before touching the ground. Before I could kiss it, rain began to fall, and lucky for me, your shell was nearby. "I'm so glad you found me," said the turtle. "Come to think of it," said the caterpillar, "maybe this is why I'm so hungry. It's been a very long journey." "Then you eat up," said the turtle. "Eat all you want. I just worry about you getting sick." "Do I look sick to you?" said the caterpillar, jutting out her oversized belly. The turtle giggled, and giggled more when the caterpillar bounced her belly up and down. "This is what I'm talking about," said the caterpillar. "The rest of the pond needs to hear your laughter. You can't stay locked up in here talking only to me." "Oh, I get it," said the turtle, pursing his mouth. "I'm too boring for you. Isn't that right? Well, you know you can leave any time you want. The shell is always open." "That's not what I mean," said the caterpillar. "I love spending my days with you. I just think you need to get out. Let go of your old skin and put on a new one. Sorry, we turtles don't shed our skin. Instead, we make our shells harder." "I'm not getting through to you, am I?" said the caterpillar, shaking her upper body. "Not with my words, at least." She put her hands to her mouth and stopped talking. "Why suddenly so quiet?" said the turtle after a long moment of silence. "Something is brewing inside of me," replied the caterpillar. "Something is telling me I have to show you with action." "Show me what?" said the turtle. "You'll see," said the caterpillar, dragging her belly outside. "Where are you going?" said the turtle. "You're not from around here. A frog might snatch you up." "I'll be fine," said the caterpillar. "I'm just right outside." "Go ahead and leave. See if I care," said the turtle. "I've been left before. And look at me. I survived once. I can survive again." He joined his brow and lay in silence. "I bet she's just waiting to see if I chase after her," he said to himself. "That'll be the day. I am never chasing after anyone ever again. I bet she expects me to cry for her too. Never again will I weep for a living creature. Never." He shut his eyes and did his best to ignore the croaks and the quacks that seemed to be creeping toward his location. Never had the sounds of the pond been so loud and dreadful. As the afternoon heat pressed on the pond, he began to worry. She had not returned, and the croaks seemed to surround him. "Psst," whispered the turtle, his head now closer to the entrance of his shell. "Are you still there?" "I'm still here," said her tiny voice. "What are you doing?" said the turtle. "You should probably come inside now and take a nap." "Come and see what I'm doing," said the caterpillar. "Stop playing around and come get some sleep," said the turtle. "Oh, I am getting ready for a very long and deep sleep," said the caterpillar. "What do you mean by that?" said the turtle. "You're scaring me." "I guess you won't know what I mean unless you come out," said the caterpillar. With a curled mouth, he stuck his head out of his shell for the first time in over a year and forgot to close his eyes. "Yow!" cried the turtle. The stinging made him want to retreat, but he had to see what the caterpillar was doing. He shut and opened his eyes several times, allowing them to slowly adjust to the sunlight. "Oh, goody!" said the caterpillar. "You made it!" The turtle looked up and saw the caterpillar attached to a low-hanging branch, dangling from her tail. A small part of the back of her head was covered in a thick green substance. "What's happening to you?" said the turtle, tilting his head to get a better look. "We'll have to wait and see," said the caterpillar. "It feels like something is eating me up inside, something I can't control." "Do you need me to do anything?" said the turtle. "Do you need water? More food?" "Just stay close to me," said the caterpillar. "I'll stay here as long as you need me," replied the turtle. "I won't let any frogs take you away." The turtle patiently sat beneath the dangling caterpillar, witnessing her slow absorption into a thick green pouch. The pouch first covered her back, then her tail, and now crawled toward her face. He twisted his nose and squeezed his eyes shut as the pouch approached her mouth. "What's going to happen?" said the turtle. "We'll have to see," replied the caterpillar. A reply she had repeated every hour he had asked that same question. "When will this be over?" said the turtle as the pouch now covered her mouth. "We'll have to see," said the caterpillar, her voice now muffled. Once the caterpillar was completely wrapped in the green substance, the turtle frowned and looked away. Why did she leave him? What had he done to make her go away without a goodbye? Wasn't he good to her? Didn't he give her all his attention and care? It was not fair that he got left behind and she went and lived her life as she pleased. What could have he done differently to have made her stay? Each question felt like a tiny rock stacked on his head, and as the stack got heavier, so did his desire for answers. But no answers came, which prompted the heaviest question of them all. Why go on living? This question slammed his chin onto the ground and sent his mind into darkness. The caterpillar's moaning snapped him back to consciousness and into the light. "You okay in there?" he muttered, still half asleep. "You need me to get you anything?" "I'm scared," said the caterpillar, barely audible. "I don't know what's happening to me. I feel so much pain." "I don't know what to do," said the turtle, unable to reach the dangling green pouch. "I wish I could see you." "Tell me a story," said the caterpillar. "A story would help me relax." "I don't know any stories," said the turtle. "I have lived a boring life." "Tell me about your friend," said the caterpillar, "the one you dream about." "My friend, the duck," said the turtle. "Yes, you have never really talked about her," said the caterpillar. "It's almost as she never existed." On any other occasion he would have made up an excuse not to talk about the duck. But since he could hear the caterpillar moaning and whimpering, he granted her request. "What can I say about her?" said the turtle, gazing up at the green pouch. She bore creamy grayish-brown feathers with a gorgeous patch of blue on her wings. A white ring around her eyes made her gaze stand out. I was always mesmerized with her smooth black bill any time she spoke. "She sounds beautiful," said the caterpillar. "More beautiful than I could ever be," said the turtle. "I am not sure how she ever chose to be my friend." "How did you meet?" asked the caterpillar. "I was still a hatchling and she a duckling, and we had one thing in common," said the turtle. "We were poor paddlers. Our families made fun of us and called us sinkers. How could a duck and a turtle not be good at paddling? I don't know if we weren't good or maybe just more cautious than others. So we wound up spending most of our time wading on the edge of the pond, hoping others would forget us. Of course they didn't. A day didn't go by where they didn't taunt us with, 'Look at the two sinkers too afraid to come into the water.'" "We don't get into the water because we don't want any of your diseases," she said one day. I burst out laughing. She literally proclaimed what I was afraid to say out loud. "Don't listen to them," she told me. "We'll paddle when we're good and ready." I told her I was ready but not good. She told me we should practice behind the reeds so no one could see us, and that's what we did. She must have had 2 left feet because she always went sideways and bumped into me. "You're doing it on purpose," I told her. "Why would I do it on purpose?" she replied. I would then splash her and she would splash me back. Before you knew it, we were in a full splash battle, laughing and begging each other to stop. Since neither one of us stopped, we had no choice but to paddle away from each other. "Hey, you're doing it," she told me. "So are you," I said. Soon we were daring each other on who could paddle the farthest. I won twice, she won more than I could count. So we became excellent paddlers and excellent friends. If my parents asked where I was, the Edeners would say, "He's with his friend, the duck." "Sounds like you really cared for one another," said the caterpillar. "We were always together," said the turtle. "From morning to night. You couldn't separate us, even in our mischief. You see, we land animals are forbidden to leave the pond, mostly for our safety. That line of willow trees is our border. Ducks, on the other hand, were free to leave any time they wanted, mostly to bring back necessities for the rest of us. My friend had already been out on several occasions and said humans were the only real danger. As long as you stayed away from them, you were fine, and they were far away, not lurking nearby. So she convinced me to pass through the trees. For the most part, she was right about no danger. We explored various parts of the outside, and in our adventures we found a dazzling collection of crystal rocks, bright red flowers, even a dinosaur's tooth. It's a good thing my mother never found out. She would have forced me to stop seeing my friend, especially if she knew I almost died. "Almost died?" said the caterpillar. "One day my friend wandered off to find berries," said the turtle. "As I awaited her return, I didn't see a black vulture circling above. In its first swoop, it turned me over on my shell. My poor little legs kicked like crazy, thinking I could flip myself back onto my feet. Witnessing the vulture circling again, this time lower, I cried out for help. Just as the vulture rushed toward me, my friend emerged from the grass and shoved me to the side. The vulture barely missed me and tumbled into a thorny bush. My friend turned me back on my feet and told me to hurry. I tell you, I crawled as fast as I could, but it wasn't fast enough. With the vulture closing in, my friend took me under her wing, somehow scooped me up and carried me through the willow branches. She was completely out of breath when we made it back to the pond. As she lay on the bank, exhausted and in tears, I thanked her for saving my life. "That's what friends are for," she said, resting her head on mine. "We promised to never tell anyone about the incident. We promised to always look out for one another. We made so many promises." "So what happened?" said the caterpillar. "Why did she leave?" The turtle swallowed. "I don't like talking about it." "I think it would do you well if you did," said the caterpillar. "I never saw it coming," said the turtle. "Out of the blue, she just says she's leaving. She was meant to fly and needed to go. Said she was bored with me, bored with being stuck in this pond." "You must miss her," said the caterpillar with a strained voice. "More than anything," said the turtle, sniffling. "I have never told anyone this, but I have this mental image of her. She is beside me. I am buried in her feathers, feeling her love, her warmth. And I don't let go, as much as she wants to leave. I don't let go. It is this image that has kept me alive." "Has it ever crossed your mind that maybe this image is keeping you from living?" said the caterpillar. A profound silence filled the pond, as neither the turtle nor the caterpillar spoke. The turtle expected her to speak first. Minutes passed, and still the uncomfortable silence. Scratching the earth with his foot, the turtle finally said, "Are you okay in there?" When there was no answer, "Say something, anything. I'm not angry with you." Shrieks of pain escaped through the green pouch, sending shivers along his neck. "Hold on," said the turtle, scanning the area for a large stone. "I'll get you down." Spotting a large rock, he used his head to nudge it under the caterpillar. "Stay with me. Don't go into your long sleep." He climbed the rock on all fours and stretched out his neck as far as it could go. He gently poked the green pouch, hoping to get a groan, a movement, a voice. "Say something. Tell me about your journey again. Say anything." He poked the pouch again and let out a series of heavy breaths. "I will stay here until the morning," said the turtle, regaining his composure. "Just don't go to sleep." Morning dew dripped off a leaf and onto the turtle's face. He yawned and shook off his sleep. He immediately climbed the rock again and nudged her again. Still no movement, still no sound. "Say something. Anything. Please." The green pouch hung motionless and lifeless. "I think she's gone into her long sleep," said the turtle, frowning. "Why was I born a slow and stupid turtle?" "Oh, my lucky stars," shouted a voice, startling him and knocking him off the rock. "You are out of your shell." "Mother," said the turtle with a grimace, "please give me a warning next time. I'm so glad to see you out and about. Your father will be so happy." "I was just looking for food," said the turtle, pulling his head back into his shell. "Well, that's a start," said his mother, peering into his space. "Neighbors said they had passed by and heard you talking to yourself. Some said they even heard you laughing, and you might be losing it. But I said, not my son. He's accustomed to being alone. Solitude would never drive him crazy. He probably has a new friend, and if he does, I want to meet his new friend." "You're too late," said the turtle, swallowing tears. "She's gone." "I knew I should have come sooner," said his mother. "I would have loved to meet her." Not knowing how much longer he could hold back his tears, he said, "I would like to be alone now." "I just got here," said his mother. "Please leave," said the turtle. "I will never understand you," said his mother. "You bring so much unnecessary pain onto yourself. You could be out here enjoying life with the rest of your family. Instead, you stay stuck in your shell day and night. And all for some dumb friend of yours that abandoned you a year ago." "Please get out," shouted the turtle and backed away. He shut his eyes and wished there was no pond, no family, no neighbors, no duck, no caterpillar. He wished he and his shell could fall into a deep hole and never be found. No one seemed to understand him or took the time to listen to him. The only creature who did take the time was now in a green coffin hanging on a branch. Now that she was gone, there was no reason to speak to anyone. He opened his eyes and surveyed the interior of his shell. It seemed darker than before, harder and more cramped. At one time, his shell made him feel as if he didn't need anything else. At one time, his shell was enough. That was before he actually let someone inside. Maybe he could let someone else inside, just as he did with the caterpillar. What for? So they could make him feel love and joy, and then abandon him. He didn't think he could withstand losing another friend. "I just want her back," cried the turtle in the darkness of his shell. "I miss her so much." He broke down in tears and wailed out his pain. He cried until he fell asleep, only to wake up in the morning and cry again. This went on for several days, shedding a year's worth of tears. Once his eyes felt completely drained, his mind followed suit. No desires, no hopes, no words flowed through his consciousness. It was as if the past and future got swallowed up in the present abyss of sadness, and there was no point in saying anything, feeling anything, loving anything. If it wasn't for an itchy and dry throat, he would have assumed he was dead. When the itchiness became unbearable, he dragged his feet to the pond to drink from the waters of Eden. With eyes half opened, he saw the sun lowering across the horizon and pink strands stretching across the sky. She would have been eating her second dinner around this time, said the turtle. He walked to the pouch and saw that it was no longer green. It now had a dark, rotting color with a small smudge of orange. He stared at the pouch and sighed. I can't just leave her there. I should give her a proper burial. He put his front legs on the stone and tried reaching for the pouch, falling short a couple of inches. Without hesitation, he put all four legs and stretched out his neck. His plan was to latch his mouth onto the pouch and pull it down. His plan was to dig a tiny grave and bury his friend and cover her with lotus petals. But just as he pressed his mouth onto the pouch, a sudden movement jolted him away. He blinked his eyes to make sure he was not seeing things. Again, something moved inside, this time stretching the fabric out toward him. I'm right here, said the turtle. I'll catch you if you fall. The movement became more aggressive as the pouch tore open. Two black, slender arms emerged, poking through what now looked like a transparent shell. Old skin flaked into the air. He expected to see the caterpillar with her green skin and orange dots. Instead, large wings with orange circles expanded before his eyes. He stood perched on the stone with mouth wide open, speechless. "Oh, goody," said the butterfly. "I made it to the other side." She flapped her wings and fluttered around the turtle, shedding the last remaining crumbs of her old self. "Your wings," said the turtle, following her with his eyes. "Your wings are so beautiful." "And they don't feel strange at all," said the butterfly, "as if they have carried me all of my life." The turtle stepped off the stone as the butterfly continued to circle around him. "You're going to make me dizzy," said the turtle. "Can you please stay still?" "Stay still," said the butterfly. "I can't stay still. I've been enclosed for far too long. I need to flap my wings and soar like a bird." "Can you at least fly in front of me so I can see you?" said the turtle. "I missed you." "I missed you too," said the butterfly, caressing his cheek with her wing. "For a moment I thought I wasn't going to make it out." "You and me both," said the turtle. "For a moment I thought I was going to stay in there forever," said the butterfly. "I thought the same," said the turtle. "But then I remembered," said the butterfly. "I have a friend waiting for me on the outside, a friend who cares for me." That's when my arms reached out. And to my surprise, you were already out of your shell, ready to receive me. He lifted his front leg so she could land on it. "Doesn't it feel good to be out and about?" said the butterfly, her wings now still. The turtle took in a deep breath and released it. "It does, actually. I, for one, feel so joyful and free. I could fly all over the world," said the butterfly. With those words, the turtle frowned and saw that the sky was pink and purple, the sun large and orange. Why didn't he see it coming? Just like his friend, the duck, the caterpillar was destined to leave him. He hung his head and proceeded to pull it back into his shell. The butterfly landed on the tip of his nose and looked him straight in the eyes. "I could fly all over the world, I surely can," said the butterfly. "But the best part of the world is right here with you, my best friend." She flew toward the tiny area between his eyes and kissed it. The turtle smiled and looked up at the colorful sky. "This is the most beautiful sunset I have ever seen." "I got an idea," said the butterfly, patting his head with her wings. "Let's stay awake all night and be the first ones to see the new dawn." "My thoughts exactly," said the turtle. And so they sat together all night, happy to be in each other's presence, happy to be part of the pond, happy to be witnesses of the morning light. Early the next morning, clouds allowed sun rays to funnel down like giant spotlights from heaven. These spotlights passed over hills and valleys, over willow trees and reeds, over pond and stones, over relaxing frogs and sleepy ducks. The spotlights gradually moved over a tiny striped head poking out of the water, and over a butterfly fluttering nearby. The spotlights followed a trail of footprints in the mud, footprints that led to a blackberry bush and flakes of old skin. Edeners say the spotlights finally rested on a hard shell, a shell which was now empty and had a declaration carved on its side, a declaration which was meant for all family and neighbors to see. A declaration for all future generations to repeat. A declaration which was a celebration and a heartache all at once. A declaration which simply read, "A lonely turtle was once here." And there you have it, dear friend, the story of a lonely turtle and a wandering caterpillar who found healing and companionship. I wish this same healing and companionship to all the lonely turtles and wandering caterpillars of this world. If a story from this channel touches your heart, please share it with someone who may need to hear it. Let's continue to journey together, dear friends, one whisper at a time.